Hello, greetings. My name is Vanessa Norwood. I'm the creative director at the Building Centre, where I'm sitting right now in our beautiful Conversations About Climate Change exhibition, which I'm very happy to say, has been extended. So you'll be able to visit over the summer and come and see the work in the show. Woodwork is the Building Centre's online talk series, all celebrating the wonderful work of architects around the world in timber, and it's supported by the Timber Trade Federation and Wood for Good. And the 8th and final project of the series is the Tomioka Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Japan. And the project will be presented by Takaharu Tezuka, co-founder of Tezuka Architects, who I'm very, very happy to have with us today. Takaharu Tezuka is president of Tezuka Architects, which founded in 1994, with his partner Yui Tezuka. And the practice set out with not just the intention of designing great architecture, which they have, but to change the world for the better through the means of architecture. And if that sounds like a grand claim, I think seeing the presentation today and looking at their other work will really hold that claim true. The work is incredible, and it really has a generosity of spirit and of architecture that creates really special places to be, and you'll be able to see that in the work that we're going to see today. Their works won numerous awards and has been featured in the Venice Architecture Biennale in 2004 and 2018, and is the subject of an incredibly popular TED Talk, The Best Kindergarten You've Ever Seen. And I do recommend anyone that hasn't seen it to watch that, because the look on those children's faces really is testament to this great architecture. Takaharu is a professor of the Tokyo City University since 2009. So today he's going to be talking about the Tomioka Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and it's located in the vicinity of the World Heritage Site of the Tomioka Silk Mill. The Chamber of Commerce and Industry is a rejuvenation of historical landscape. As well as referencing the silk mill, the new building had to represent Tomioka as the city of the future. And the resulting building shows the incredible scope of timber to enable use of both the oldest and the latest building techniques. And the true value of a timber construction is that it allows continuity of detail from structure to fixture. And this is a genuine timber building and forms a new heart for the local community. And on that note, I will say thank you very much, Takaharu, for being here, and I will hand over to you.
Okay. Thank you very much for inviting me. Just I'm straight going into my slides. Okay, you can start from there. Okay. Okay, hold on now. Where to start? Go. Nice to meet you, everybody. I think I'm an architect famous of these donuts. Everybody knows about these donuts, but it's not only my merchandise. I sell other things, the food sells other things. Today I have to talk about timber, so just I move on to other slides. It's me and my wife. I'm always in blue. My wife is in red, and my boss. And I'm gonna start my story from Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Tomioka City. And the Tomioka City is famous of old mill, silk mill. And it's built around the 1830s. And it's quite early. Actually, this is the first modern mill in Asia. And also, this mill was famous of, setting the first labor law in Japan. So, this is like this. And maybe in London, there are so many mills already, but in Japan, this was quite advanced. And so this city was quite proud of this building. And not only just being the first modern mill in Asian country, and this is a place where first labor law started. They had a weekend. They could work only 7.5 hours. They have to go home. It's much better than my office now. Okay. Sorry. They asked me to design Chamber of Commerce on the industry in this city with World Heritage. And this city is famous of, sorry, excuse me. This city is quite famous of an older land or cityscape, just like this. And same time, they wanted the continuity of just the old silk mill, which you have seen. And also, the city is known to be the front line of modern technology. This city is making space rocket. Just recently, excuse me, recently they sent a rocket to asteroid belt. The rocket brought a probe brought a stone back to Japan. So they want to show past and present both. sorry. And so I had to take care of both. So I got some reference from old silk mill, this structure, and same time, I wanted I wanted some kind of monocoque structure. So this shape is working as one. Also, this is made of timber. You can hold up like this. So this shape is making timber to be stronger. And it's very, very simple diagram. One side, we have a street to going through this warehouse. And one side, we have a new building. And this is how structures are looking like in the genuine timber building. No steel support. And the interesting about this building is one side is historical. So we try to copy the old shop, old kimono shop, and destroyed in last earthquake. And then as you go to the back, and we get more roofs. And from the other side, it's future. So one side old city, another side is called Millennium Falcons. And one side we have a road leading you to old city mill. And look back, you have historical side. So it's really double-sided building. And you go in, and you get this kind of feeling. And actually, this structure is derived from the local, silk mill. They got this kind of object and also elements all over the place. So, for example, this is how they raise silkworm, and also you can see same kind of pattern in all the buildings. So we made this kind of building. So Chamber of Commerce of the industry in normal city are really in office building. But in this location, we try to make a building to be a shop on the street, along the street. So people can come in and enjoy some events. Here, I'm not talking about this only acoustic. I'm trying to talk about the continuity of the design of the timber building. Because when you are designing a steel building, you have to get the products from different manufacturers. But when you are coming to timber, you can rely on the carpenter. So from handrail, floor, and wall and structure, except the glass, everything made of timber. So when we built this, and the old carpenters very very much proud of this building, and they kept bringing the family to here, and they keep saying, this is my achievement, and this chamber of commerce industry is saying they're gonna keep this building for a few hundred years. So it's gonna be somehow maybe in the future heritage building in Japan. So like nice thing about timber building is life, you know, time element. And I'm gonna show you another completely different project. You know that the tsunami came to Japan, 2011. Many people died, and it is a story about this building. A lady kept telling, and the tsunami is coming. You have to leave the town, leave the town. And she was holding a microphone to the death. She died, and she became a song. But there's another hero. He's a monk, and also uh, 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 principal of our kindergarten. And this promenade was lost. And it's important to say all these trees are 400 years old. And these trees were planted after 1611, exactly 400 years ago. And the tsunami came all the way up, very close to this day. And tsunami went up to about 30 meters from sea level. And many people survived in this temple because everybody knew that if you go to old temple, you can live, because if the temple is old enough, it means these temples survived. So it's a kind of message from the past. Now it's coming down to this promenade. The seawater stayed here half day, and the roots were salted. So these trees are dead. And UNICEF came. We want to build a kindergarten on the high ground. Could you help us? I said, okay, we can. Yes, I can. But we don't have money. Don't worry, just we have a material in front. And this is almost 400 years old. And then we chopped these trees. And we made huge timbers, It's solid wood, very heavy, very heavy. It's about 600 by 600. It's about 1.5 tons to 2 tons. And we try to use old joinery, Japanese joinery. In Japan, and there are many timber buildings exceeding more than 400 years, not only 400 years, actually 1,000 years. Oldest timber building is 1,300 years old, 300 years. So we know that if we use the old technique, the building is going to survive more than 400 years quite easily. I keep saying 400 years. I'll tell you the reason. And we use the old technique using which it's not concrete building. It looks like a concrete column, but it's solid timber. And then these people are crying because this is the first building built after tsunami. And they built this because they needed a place to put their kids to revitalize the town. It's built like this. So kids are back like this, okay? It's simple building, but this building contains a lot of message. And the point is, this column, actually this tree, was killed by seawater 2011. Okay, but this tree was planted 1611. After 1611, means exactly 400 years. What means tsunami comes like a clockwork every 400 years. So we built this temple. We built this kindergarten to send a message to the kids. Year 2411. So and the kids will come here, and this building is telling if tsunami comes, you have to come to me, and your life will be saved. So this is how the promenade is looking like. Now we are building trees, so the tree will grow, and for 400 years from now, I'm going to get there to get the new commission. I'm going to build a new one. Then I hope you to come to my building, 2411. So now I'm going to show you how the building is looking like. We got the first phase and second is actually this was supposed to be in the middle of the forest, but somehow, just all these areas developed because everybody moved up to the high ground. And this building used to be on the middle of the forest after tsunami built, and then everybody moved up. So this became a kind of symbol of this area. And the first phase, we used a big timber. And second phase, we didn't have a big timber because, we used oil. And so we used the other technique to put the smaller timber together. So that's the reason why first phase, second phase are different. And the good thing about timber building is that they're very warm, okay? And this area is -20 in the winter and summer is 40 degrees. But kids running around and they hang on to, and somehow they develop a fondness to the building. That is another thing about timber building. Kids are allowed to run around in Japan. No? Okay, I'm gonna show you other buildings. Okay, and then there are two more buildings. One is Utsovnet, called Utsovnet. Actually, some people might know this became the front cover of the Architecture Review about 10 years ago, and this is the first model we made. And we got our reference from old Japanese temple. It's about 1,000 years old. We made joinery. So our building is not just structure. It's different to the history, so the accumulation of memory, and also modern technology. Made this, and it's piling up. Looks like this, and then we pile. I think actually this looks like an old temple. Actually, this is laminated wood, water resistant. And we put the kids inside with the pavilion. This is timber lecture, so just I'm not going into the detail, but I must tell you that this is really my kids' favorite. We don't tell them what they should do, and this building is telling a story without the architect. And we don't need, I love this picture. And we don't need furniture, because people sitting onto the timber building. That is the nice thing about timber. You can hang on to, you can sleep on, or further are tired. Going on having coffee. My son, he's cute, like this. And the last building, it's Mugu Kindergarten. Hold on, is it moving? No. This movie is not moving. Sorry. How the timber is building is looking like, and a very simple structure. The F-shaped structure is leading each other, and then how the building is looking like. It's sees an umbrella, and we try to make endless circulation. Again, we are exporting the timber. Actually, when you make something long-term timber building, it's very important to export the timber, not covering it. I think some people must remember this is a project got the prize from World Architecture Festival. Okay, thank you. I think it's 20 minutes. Okay, I can hand over to you 20 minutes. Hello. Okay.
Whoop. Hi, Takaharu, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
And hopefully you'll be able to see me any second now. Thank you so much for that presentation. I think the joy of your architecture is that you make a beautiful building, and then, as you say, you put children in it, and the joy on their faces when they see the, I'm going to start my video now, seeing the joy of the kids in the architecture is quite incredible, actually, to witness. The series is called Woodwork, and this was a very beautiful presentation to end the series on, because there was obviously a real joy of the material use. And you showed us some scenes in your studio of sort of experimenting with the wood. And wood is the ultimately adaptable material, it seems. We think of other materials as being kind of off the shelf or being good at sort of being a component part. But you show that timber can be this ultimately flexible, adaptable material. Do you do much experimentation in the studio? You talk about using old techniques and new. How do you push wood as a material?
Well, wood is timeless. And the good thing about Japan is that we got a very skilled carpenter. And I can tell you that now there's the oldest construction company in the world in Japan. And they started their company 1,400 years ago. And they built a temple, and same family is doing maintenance of that timber out the temple. So it means timeless. And same time, some company got the really latest technology using a CNC machine, and we have the latest technology to analyze the structure. So all these are coming together, So it's very different from steel or concrete. It's a seamless continuation from 1,400 years ago to now, possibly in the future. That's the beauty of timber.
Yes, and your projects show it wonderfully. I mean, it's just joyful architecture. I should say that to everybody listening that the chat function is live, so you can ask a question and I can pass it on. I mean, there's so much praise coming in, Takaharu. People saying, David says the structures seem to hang in midair. And I think that shows the sort of beauty of the design and the engineering in the projects. In Tokyo, obviously you have to consider, Michael's asking if there are any considerations or concessions made to fire risk. How are the sort of rules there in Japan?
Oh, of course, we have to issue that. When we make a building any more than 2 stories, we have to make a fire-rated building. But there are technique to, put some chemicals into timber to become fire resistant. And so they're rating from 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. And so if you use that proper technique, timber can survive more than the steel in normal condition.
Yes, I mean, that's another beautiful thing about wood. Liz is asking, it's exposed timber. Will the color change? What color will the timber go to? How is the sort of weathering on the buildings?
Okay, in Japan, we used to use mercury to kill the bugs and all the bacteria. But of course, we are not allowed to use mercury anymore. People dies. So, but these days we found out aging of the timber is beautiful as long as protected from rain. So just we put enough, eaves, and also if we put the proper cover, and also if we are letting timber to breathe the normal air, it survives. So aging is beauty, or I think it's a part of the beauty of the timber. As people get more beautiful after some age, something like this.
And you work with very large pieces of timber in your projects. Shingi is asking, how do you dry such large pieces of solid timber?
It's interesting question. Actually, when we get the huge timber, it takes a long time to dry it. So when we when we are working on the no, Minami Sanriku kindergarten, uh, where we got the tsunami, you know, I asked the carpenter, how long does it take to dry this huge timber, 600 by 600? He said, oh, it's not so much, maybe 10 years. I said, no, I can't wait 10 years. And he gave me an interesting alternative. He said, okay, drill a hole on the middle. And actually, this is old technique
Mhm.
from old Chinese architecture. They were doing more than, not more than 1,000, but they have been doing the more than 2,000, 3,000 years. When you make a hole on the middle of the huge timber, the timber dries from inside and outside, and then it doesn't crack. And if you leave the big timber in the air, then it cracks like a pineapple. But if you drill a hole on the middle, and it dries from inside out, it doesn't crack. And these days it's quite easy. You have a really nice machine to drill the center. But at the mid old time, they had a carpenter with really long arm to drill it, I think.
That's quite an interesting thought. They must have been very in demand, long-armed carpenters.
Yeah, I think so.
You're obviously, as you work on these projects, you're finding an incredible amount of kind of material out, some of it old and existing technologies. Ashley is asking, where can people find out more information? Is there sort of any resources that you would recommend, or any sort of things that you can point architectural students to sort of to work with wood?
Well, it's not easy. And actually, you know, I could say, my university, it could be the front line. It's getting harder to get the skilled carpenter. So we have to raise them, and also we have a collaborator, of the timber manufacturing timber.
Mhm.
And when we started work with them, they were just timber delivery company. Now they have a 300-meter long factory, and so you know in every direction we have a good steel company at the timber company, all these. But I had to raise it, and as I have same competitor to work with us. So where we go in Japan, we got a carpenter called Hiratsuka-san. He's amazing, but he speaks a very strong dialect, so it's very difficult to communicate. Now I'm trying to send that guy to Europe because we have a project in Europe, and it's very hard.
Yeah, well, maybe next time we need to have a talk with him.
I think so.
Yeah, although the dialect might be a problem, I think.
Yes.
Is this project in Europe something you can tell us about, or is it top secret?
It's very, very top secret. If I talk about it, I get fired, so I can't.
Okay, well, maybe in a
We'll see.
year's time, we'll come back and ask you more about that project.
Okay.
I'm going to see if there's any more questions. I think just actually everybody saying what a beautiful project, wonderful examples of great empathy, actually, which is a very, very good word. So that's Peter used that word. I think that's something that really comes across in your architecture.
There's one more thing I forgot to tell you about time. Timber moves. So if we design the building for next 400 years, we have to read how timber moves. So we were told you have to plant the column as tree was growing, so that all timber moves same direction. So you need, when you use genuine timber, just a solid timber, you need to know how timber moves. And I think in even Europe, carpenter used to know that, but you forgot, I think.
Yes. Well, it's definitely time to relearn those lessons, because I think through this series of talks and actually through the work we're trying to do at the Building Centre with the Timber Trade Federation, the idea of wood is actually gaining huge popularity of wood being used in architecture. And I think that's one of the very surprising things. Wood is flexible, it's strong, it's safe, it's beautiful, it's warm, and we all love it. And I think it's definitely having a resurgence here in the UK and in Europe and hopefully across the world. I want to say thank you so much, Takaharu, for sharing your wonderful work with us. it's a beautiful project to end the series on, because I think your love of wood and the fact that people love being in your wooden buildings is a very beautiful tribute to timber architecture. So thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you again. We would love to come back to you to ask more about the project in Europe that's top secret. So yeah,
Please.
we look forward to speaking to you again, and thank you so much. And good
Thank
evening.
you.
Good
Good
evening,
evening.
Sergio, and goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.